It was a Top Gun day for India's first full-time woman Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and what an experience it must have been. She strapped into the cockpit of a Sukhoi 30 MKI fighter jet of the Indian Air Force and took off for what was a 45-minute exhilarating experience over Western India. Take a look at what she saw up there.
Say Vanakkam to Top Gun Nirmala. That's right, India's first full-time woman defence minister just got her fighter wings after strapping into a Sukhoi 30 combat jet for a sortie over Western India. The mission was clear. Nirmala wished to fly to get a sense of what India's frontline pilots undertake every single day. It all began with a briefing for the Raksha Mantri on what lay ahead from the Jodhpur Air Base. Next, she met with the crew that would be equipping her. Equipped in full flight overalls and a G-suit, the minister was ready. India Today learns she had had a light breakfast, nothing too heavy, just perfect for a first flight. Strapped in and ready, the formidable Su-30 MKI blasted off on a beautiful clear day over the Thar desert. In the air, Nirmala was given an extensive demonstration of the Su-30's capabilities. She even took over controls for a few minutes. 45 minutes later, the Defence Minister was back on earth, a smile on her face, exhilaration and respect in her voice.
It was a great experience. It was an eye-opener in terms of the preparation and also to see what level of alertness will have to be exhibited by our pilots. I'm indeed very proud and very thankful that I've gone through this experience, because it actually tells me what rigor in practice and what level of readiness and how quickly they have to respond to situations. I'm very grateful to all of you.
After her sortie, Nirmala does what she loves best as Raksha Mantri. She interacted with the air warriors at Jodhpur and congratulated them on their professionalism, high state of morale and motivation. Nirmala Sitharaman becomes the second woman politician to fly the Su-30 MKI after President Pratibha Patil. But as the country's first full-time defence minister, the flight is hugely symbolic, especially since 2018 will see India's first female fighter pilots strap in for service. As Nirmala finds her feet after a once-in-a-lifetime experience in the air, there's work to be done to keep India's combat edge as sharp as ever. All we can say is salute. Bureau Report, India Today.
So it was a wonderful 45-minute flight in that Su-30 for Nirmala Sitharaman, the country's defence minister. She says that she's gained a huge amount of respect for the work that our air warriors do every single day. She spent only 45 minutes in that flight, but she said she gained a world of insight. Are these just photo ops? What kind of symbolism, what kind of use do experiences like this, like the one that happened today, really have for national security and the country? Remember, it was the Defence Minister who undertook that flight. Privileged to be joined this evening by Air Chief Marshal S. Krishnaswamy, retired former Chief of the Air Staff. We also have with us our Executive Editor, Gaurav Sawant, who's covered many such events. In fact, Gaurav was at the Ambala Air Force Station many years ago when former Defence Minister George Fernandez famously flew in a MiG-21. Air Chief Krishnaswamy, good evening to you. Welcome. Privileged to have you as always, sir. A question that arises after the event today, sir, is, is this just a photo op? Is it a joyride? But as a man who once wore the uniform, tell us about the symbolism and the importance of the Defence Minister gaining this kind of first-hand experience of what our pilots and our air warriors actually do on a daily basis, sir.
I'd say that, firstly, thank you for this opportunity. I'll say this, I believe in it. It's very, very inspiring that our Defence Minister took all the initiative, the interest to, take a ride on the Sukhoi 30. And you may say it's a 45 minutes flight. It certainly is not a joyride. And it takes about good 2 hours for the sortie preparation. They must have spent quite some time discussing, how to handle emergencies, how to strap in, and there are very, very many procedures that she must have gone through. And I must say that at the end of that, if she felt good about it, she enjoyed it, we are very impressed. Certainly very, very impressed.
Okay, then, yeah.
You know, it just goes to show that she cares. She cares, and therefore she gets to know more about, other discussions that they may follow. She would possibly grasp a better understanding of what.
Okay, she definitely showed that she cares. She definitely invested the time to actually undertake this experience and actually spend a lot of time with the air warriors as well. Gaurav, we understand it was a very enjoyable flight. She was also given controls. Before we get to the symbolism, what do we know about what happened during those 45 minutes? Because fighter flying is an exhilarating experience for someone who isn't a pilot.
It's also very scary.
Yeah.
It's also very scary. So you have to be mentally tough to fly on board a fighter jet. And it's a privilege that very few have. Now, before you get into the cockpit, you go through all the safety measures. You're also taught, and this is very critical because life depends on it, how to bail out in an emergency. So you always have a parachute. If you need to bail out, what is it that you need to do? If you need to eject, what is it that you need to do? So those are procedures that are taught to you. Then, your 2Gs, 3Gs, 4Gs, 5Gs, you've flown in a fighter jet. So you know the pressure on your system, from your head to your abdomen to your legs. The moment you're climbing, the blood does rush to your feet. So what is it that you need to do then? How do you breathe? How do you keep your mental faculties? Because there are times, Shiv, and you know that better, blood rushes out of your head. It could
you can have a blackout.
You can have a blackout. Of course, that wouldn't, I'm sure they haven't done those
combat maneuvers.
They haven't done those combat maneuvers with the Defence Minister on board. But when they do that, what is it that you need to do so that your faculties are with you? She cares. Well, if she cares, we will see it in actions that follow. She's learning. What will it lead to? We'll see in the times to come.
Absolutely. Air Chief Krishnaswamy, what will the Air Force be hoping that, such an event actually achieves? Apart from the visible deliverables, which is, faster acquisitions, faster modernization, is it also about joining the Air Force and creating, a mood of passion and interest for a career in the Indian Air Force?
I think, personally, I feel, the public at large, especially the women, would be that much more interested and inspired to join the military wherever they can. And those who are serving, the women in the services, certainly they'll feel very good that the minister took this so-called the initiative to get into the aeroplane and get a feel of it. And what happens subsequently, whatever the discussion that take place, I won't really talk about the acquisition all the time, but in terms of managing the fleet, the kind of problems or this kind of difficulties, maintenance, the spare parts, the support requirements, all those things, when they talk about it, she would certainly understand, perceive them better, and then it leads to, other exposures. It just doesn't end there. Then she may visit another station, she may see the, it's a whole range of activities, just not simply, one is of course flying, and the other is of course the logistics, the support, the maintenance, the engineering, the weapon systems, and the sensors, how the laboratories, and how the men work in very, very constricted spaces.
Absolutely.
And in difficult circumstances. So when she visits these bases, step by step she gets to know.
Absolutely, it's about creating awareness as well, creating a mood of inspiration and awareness about the Indian Air Force makes people very proud. And Gaurav, no coincidence whatsoever that our first full-time woman defence minister flies in a Sukhoi the same year that in the Indian Air Force will be getting its first women fighter pilots. So the symbolism is undeniable and also a source of pride.
Oh, absolutely.
Women power.
Women power. And that is something what we'll see in the Army, in the Navy, in the Air Force. And as far as what fighter flying will women do, you know, when I was interviewing the Defence Minister, Manohar Parrikar, former Defence Minister, he'd made it very clear that it is very important for our women to fly and protect our skies. So these are very, very difficult operations. They wouldn't be flying an offensive operation into enemy territory, but combat air patrols, protecting Indian skies. That's where they'll play a very critical role. As far as the Army, women in the Army are concerned, Shiv, they will be protecting our military installations, military bases. Again, a very important job. So yes, women will have a much bigger role to play in the armed forces. Nirmala Sitharaman, being a woman, has a much bigger role, not only to ensure women play a bigger role, but even armed forces have a better environment to operate in, the armed forces and their families.
Absolutely. So the 45 minutes that Nirmala Sitharaman spent on board that aircraft today will have ramifications, it will have a fallout, it will perhaps and hopefully have a accelerated decision making as far as giving our air warriors the best possible equipment, because remember, they're up there every day defending airspace, defending India's sovereignty. Air Chief Krishnaswamy and Gaurav, thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. We will keep the spotlight as always on national security right here on India Today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.